Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Hometown Daily News Show here on Twitch. I am Mayor Watt. That's my site. It is a news aggregator, and it reaches out to a bunch of news sites that I vet. If you know of one that you think I'd be interested in, get in touch with me, let me know. You can throw it in chat if you want, if you're in my chat. There's also Twitter, YouTube, podcast. I try to be everywhere. I am virtually, but thought I'd just let everybody know. I am on episode 113. Started on January 1st. And I'm going to continue for the foreseeable future. Hopefully I'm going to be able to stay longer coming up towards summer. But unfortunately, I only have an hour for each episode. I end up being about an hour and 20 minutes typically, but on the weekends I can actually stay longer if there are people that want to hang out. That said, let's get into today's news. I've got about 20 articles again, but let's just get started. The very first article, pardon me one second. The very first article is over on the Hatch Ideas channel, and it is, I visited this is an author speaking, not me. The author of this article says, I visited the first Target store ever and saw how the chain is incubating the future of the discount store. I visited the original Target in Minneapolis, which opened 60 years ago. The store was massive, including a full grocery store complete with a deli and bakery. I was surprised by all of the other services inside, including an optician, Ulta, CVS. Target is headquartered in Minneapolis. So on a recent trip, the author visited the original location of the iconic chain. Let's click the link. It'll take us over to Business Insider. And Mary Meisenzahl is the author. Yeah, and Target is really the current kind of mega store, along with a couple of others like Walmart. Target is pretty much the go-to in the United States. Ma and pa stores are kind of taking a beating over the years and getting diminished more and more because they don't have the buying power that a mega store has. And so the margins are smaller and I've never liked that equation in business, but it is what it is. You buy more, you pay less per item, but it's a larger, wallet that has to be deployed. And so Target and Walmart and contracts and whatnot are leveraged to reduce those prices and lower the margins for the supplier and increase the margin for the retail side. So it says here, the Dayton company, which operated discount department stores, opened Target as its first discount retailer in 1962. And today the store looks much more modern with all the motifs I typically associate with Target, like the Target red balls mounted outside stores. Those are always interesting. I've never really understood. I never asked or inquired as to why those exist. They just exist. And I suppose they're symbolic of the center circle of the Target logo. So they've got a bunch of pictures over here on businessinsider.com. And again, Mary Meisenzahl is the author of that article. Go check it out if you are curious what the original Target store looks like. It's evolved. It isn't still like stuck in time or anything. It's just bigger than many other Target stores. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. The drive to vaccinate the world against COVID is losing steam. Yep, I agree. People are getting burnt out, and there's a large population that is, there's a large population that has respect for society as a whole, and not just a silo of one's own. And it says here, rates are stalling in most low-income countries, well short of WHO's goal to immunize 70% of the people in every nation. Some public health experts believe the momentum is gone forever. Yeah, and that's because the whole 80-20 rule applies. 80% of society is going to do the work, and 20% are going to not and benefit from it. Now, that's different than the way that it really works, which is 20% produce the work and 80% consume. That's the old Pareto rule, but at any rate, I think it applies in different ways, different ratios, and some might argue different sides of the fence you're on, but not me. I think that the brunt of people who respect society as a whole have gotten the vaccine. Naturally, there are always these anomalies. These are the special cases where you're allergic to something that might be in it, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's all kinds of fidelity and context there. But for most of society, you should be wholeheartedly able to take a vaccine. And you have to, for many other things in your lifetime, suddenly this is the one that is out of bounds. So I think it's ridiculous. But let's click this link and take us over to New York Times. And it's a global health segment written by Rebecca Robbins and Stephanie Nolan. And unfortunately, there are a lot of countries out there that, well, to quote it, it says, only a few of the world's 82 poorest countries, including Bangladesh, Bhutan, Cambodia, and Nepal, have reached the 70% vaccination threshold. Many are under 20%, according to data compiled from government sources by Our World in Data project at the University of Oxford. By comparison, 2/3 of the world's richest countries have reached 70%. The United States is at 66%, which I think is a surprisingly low number. But again, it comes to the brunt of people are socially driven. For whatever reason, there's always a bunch that just they'd like to take from society, but not necessarily give back. But I'm not going to stay in that mode here. The next article is over in the Daily News Show, and the U.S. military drops appeal of Hawaii order. It's a Hawaiian order to drain fuel tanks. The U.S. government is dropping an appeal of a Hawaii order requiring it to remove fuel from massive military fuel storage facility that leaked petroleum into the Navy's water system at Pearl Harbor last year. So let's click this link. It'll take us over to ABC News. And the author of this article is Audrey McAvoy. It says the U.S. government is dropping the appeal. Well, what is this appeal? It's because they were told that they needed to remove the fuel from various tanks that are just outside of Pearl Harbor. And they're leaking into the water system, contaminating water and ground. And this is all really because of neglect. Eventually, all things that are made by humans falls apart. And in this particular case, you're in a constrained ecological system. You mess up a little bit in Hawaii, and you do great damage. Not just to the flora and fauna there, but the greater concept of flora and fauna, you're talking about the humans that are there too, are going to be harmed by this. So it says, while today's announcement is good news, the work continues. The department said in a statement, it said it would continue to act expeditiously and proactively to oversee the safe defueling and decommissioning of Red Hill and restoration of the aquifer. Well, I don't know about proactively, but the order from the Hawaii Department of Health requires the military to remove fuel from the tanks 30 days after it's safe to do so. The military will have to stick to this deadline now that it's dropping the appeal. Good. Get it done. Get it out of there. Petroleum leaked from the Red Hill tanks into a Navy drinking well late last year, sickening 6,000 people, mostly living in military housing. Medical teams treated people complaining of nausea, headaches, rashes, and other symptoms. The military put about 4,000 families in hotels for several months while it cleaned its water pipes. The tanks also pose a threat to water consumed by 400,000 on Oahu. That's because they sit 100 feet above an aquifer that serves the Honolulu Board of Water Supply and the city's water utility, in addition to the Navy's water system. And there you go. Now let's move on to the next article. It's over on the Hatch Ideas channel. Lumber prices will continue to rebound into summer after reclaiming the $1,000 level as seasonal demand ramps up, and industry executives says. Lumber prices crossed back above the $1,000 level on Thursday as seasonal demand begins to pick up. Wholesale and retail lumber inventories have been conservative in recent months, according to one lumber industry executive. Heading into what is the typical seasonal strength of the lumber market, a substantial buying round is currently upon us, Sherwood Lumber's Kyle Little told Insider. So let's click this. It's basically $1 per pound foot. And this article is over at Business Insider, written by Matthew Fox. And again, I think that this is really predatory pricing based on artificial constraints. That people are still willing to work. People are still capable of working and doing the material work product is whatever it is that they're going to be doing. And there are people that are still willing and capable of doing it, even with a mask, even without a vaccine, even with whatever. And the problem here is delivery. So what really is that at stake here? What's causing all of this delay? What's stopping production? Well, it used to be COVID, and now it's fuel. And the prices are going up because the cost associated with fuel and delivery of goods. And again, why is this? It's because, as I've been saying for various episodes now, people are taking advantage of conflict to increase their cost instead of the sector saying, let's be a benefit to society and opening up production. Well, you can't have that, because that would mean that you're a compassionate human being. You have to have a business motive to do anything. And that's how you make billionaires. You don't become a millionaire because you have compassion. No, you give money away because you're a millionaire, so that you can show that you're compassionate, and as a byproduct, lower your billable income, your taxable income, I should say. And that's how you become a billionaire, right? So it's pretty darn tough out there to have billions and not know what to do with it. Anyway, let's continue on, because this just says that strength should help keep lumber prices in a higher than normal range for the next few months, roughly between 1,000 and 1,400 per thousand board feet. According to Little, the lumber prices topped out at about $1,733 per thousand board feet. Yeah, it's there is some context to why prices increased around the pandemic. Things were shutting down, but production of wood and stuff like that, people were still willing to go work in these more industrial places because they were more devoid of people. So they were less susceptible to this. But let's continue on with the next article, and this one's in Tabletop Nights. Potionomics brews up new trailer. Exceed Games and Voracious Games released a new trailer for Potionomics for the game's appearance during this week's PAX East in Boston. The 90-second video shows an assortment of gameplay elements for the management sim/deck builder, including potion brewing, resource gathering, and store tending. We're going to click the link. It'll take us over to RP Gamer. And there's a video over there, so I'm going to encourage you to go over there. I won't play the video in the stream or in the feed or podcast, but it was highlighted over in PAX East 2022, and they were streaming on Twitch during the event. I'm not sure how long it goes. I stopped by a couple of times, but I didn't look at any of the data about it. But anyway, it looks like it might be fun. I'm going to go and check it out after my stream. But I have some other work that I need to do too today. So let's continue on. The next article is over at Hash Ideas channel. The article was sourced from businessinsider.com, and the title is the $53,000 Kia EV6 is a striking, sporty electric SUV whose biggest flaw is that people won't leave you alone. I believe it's Tim Levin that wrote the article, but it's the 2022 Kia EV6 GT line. They drove the impressive 2022 Kia EV6, Kia's newest electric SUV. It delivers 310 miles of range, attention-grabbing style, and lots of standard tech features. The Kia EV6 starts at around $41,000, and the model that they were loaned was $53,405. So let's go take a look at this thing. I'm looking for an EV. I want to live up to one of my nicknames, and I really kind of dig the whole idea of being 100% electric. I'd love to be able to put Tesla tiles on my roof and get off of the grid entirely, but at a whopping $85,000 for a couple of battery packs and the tiles, my off-grid dreams are a little bit outside of my justification. So again, this is a $53,000 Kia EV6, and the article's over at Business Insider, written by Tim Levin. And let's scroll down a little bit. Let's see. If you're in the market for an electric car and Tesla isn't quite your speed, there's a handful of alternatives out there by now. Volkswagen fans can buy an ID4. Ford diehards might pick up the Mustang Mach-E. There's also the Lightning. And new models are dropping onto the scene in a steady clip. Pretty soon, Subaru, Toyota, Honda, and Nissan will launch new electric SUVs of their own. One of the most exciting and promising is the new crop of zero-emission rides is the 2022 Kia EV6, according to the author. Let's see. Yeah, it looks pretty nice. It's a little bit sportier than a Mazda MX-5. Not as clean lined as Tesla 3. And I'm not sure about, the level of capabilities of something like this. Seems to have the shaved handles like the Tesla. And so the light rear-wheel drive is $40,900, and the GT line all-wheel drive is $55,900. And for me, I'll never go back to anything other than all-wheel drive. Excuse me, had to cough. What stands out? An EV for extroverts. So apparently people are going to come and take a look at this car while you're driving it around. Yeah, I guess as long as it's new and nobody has seen it before, so apparently people are going to come and poke and prod you. It looks the dash is quite expansive with a huge display of data that seemingly goes from one end of the car to the other. And everything is kind of, I can't say that that it's rounded or anything like that. It actually has some pretty sharp edges, but everything is integrated. Um, everything becomes one aesthetic line instead of coming up onto the back of the car and suddenly there's a shocking stack of lights or something like that. It just seems really nicely integrated. So I dig the aesthetic. I dig the lines. But if you're watching the stream or the video on YouTube, the dash is pretty much the main attractor in the cockpit of the car, because it really seems to go from the driver's side A pillar all the way across to the passenger side A pillar. It may not be, but in the pictures that are presented, it certainly looks that way. So there you have it. Oh yeah, it's just shy of the display is just shy of the full length of the passenger seat as well. So pretty neat. Okay, so I'm going to scroll up to the top, go on to the next article, which is in the Hatch Ideas channel. New company wage tracker explains why so many hourly workers are choosing to unionize. Can't imagine. Paul Constant is a writer at Civic Ventures and co-host of Pitchfork Economics podcast. He says a wage tracker of hourly pay at major chains reveals why so many workers are unionizing. When CEOs make tens of millions more than their employees, workers will fight back through unions. This is an opinion column, and the opinions expressed are those of the author. So I'm going to click the link. It'll take us over to Business Insider, and the author of the article is Paul Constant. And it says a new wage tracker revealed that 80% of workers at Taco Bell earn less than $15 an hour. Let me see something real quick. I'm just going to pull something up here. So let's see. What's the salary of Mark King as the Chief Executive Officer, Taco Bell division of Yum Brands? The total compensation of Mark King at Yum Brands is $4 million, just shy of $4 million. Just to put a fine point on it, it's $3,994,610. And there are 3 executives at Yum Brands getting paid more, with David Gibbs having the highest compensation of $17,143,200. And this is as of a wallmine.com article dated February 14th, 2022. But this is something that I have been saying for various episodes of the ohmTown Daily News Show, is the reason why people are all into anti-work and unionizing and the Great Resignation and whatnot is because of the disparity. The philosophically perhaps misaligned boots on the ground sort of thing statement about workers is that they are the ones that are making business work. You know, there is I don't want to get into like marketing terms or meme like speech, but there is a synergy between administration and those that are doing all of the functional work. So you can't have one without the other, right? There is no leadership if you don't have people working in the in the stores. So why are they making the least? Oh, it's because they supposedly don't have the same level of skills or knowledge or abilities that a CEO does. Well, that's not necessarily true. In fact, I think that many people that work at $15 an hour could run a company, and what they don't have is the connections that wealth and opportunity give them. They don't have the ability to leverage their leadership or even develop them because they have been always forced into being this $15 an hour worker. Um, and it's really about opportunity and education, and that's it. I mean, you have to have opportunity to get there. Um, and keeping people earning $15 an hour with very little ability to migrate up or even pay their wages without having to worry about that, they're not getting a check that's sufficient enough for them to pay their own uh, rent in an apartment, let alone excel and be an ongoing concern, as business likes to say about business. So let's see here. Consider Starbucks. The tracker tells us that 63% of Starbucks' 225,529 workers earn less than $15 an hour. It's shocking to see how many of the businesses, including Big Lots, Arby's, Dollar General, Marshalls, McDonald's, Taco Bell, and more, pay 80% or more of their workforce less than $15 per hour. Yet there are people that are making tens, 20s, hundreds of millions of dollars in salary, not necessarily their full package where they get stock options as well. Elon Musk just activated $23 billion worth of stock. Billion. And people forget that the only reason why SpaceX is a success is because public money was given. Yeah, lots of hard work by the employees, but look at how much the employees are making compared to activating $23 billion worth of stock. There's an inequality between what would be called the working class and the CEOs, the C-suite, I should say. The next article is over in Hatch Ideas, and it's about Margaritaville. Margaritaville is expanding its RV empire with its first resort village, complete with a hotel, tiny home, and RV park. And it says here in the article, Margaritaville has announced its first resort village with a hotel, RV park, and tiny homes. The brand wants to have 30 to 50 RV parks open within the next 5 years, it told Insider, in 2021. Margaritaville's portfolio now includes accommodations like resorts, a cruise line, senior living communities. And on Monday, Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville announced plans to grow its hospitality empire with its first village. This is a businessinsider.com article. It sounded like it had an older data point in it for 2021. But anyway, this article is written by Brittany Chang. So Camp Margaritaville RV Resort. And you just can't, once you've heard that song, you got it stuck in your head, about Margaritaville, which are real places, was a song and about a real place. And now it's even expanding into an entire identity. There was something that involved lawsuits about Margaritaville and what it was about. It was a while back now that I remember it. A while back, maybe a decade plus. And the problem was that somebody was using Margaritaville, and I guess what was happening is behind the scenes, Margaritaville as an entity, as a business enterprise, was actually spinning up its plans to expand and exploit the term Margaritaville. And I guess this is actually the culmination of it. The team will begin constructing the new Margaritaville themed village next year, with plans to begin welcoming guests in 2024. So right around the corner there, folks. When it's open, the village will house the Margaritaville Hotel, Pocono Mountains, Camp Margaritaville, Tiny Homes Bungalow, and branded bars and restaurants that'll be recognizable to any fan, like the Land Shark Bar and Grill. Well, Now the lawsuit that I remember makes sense because there were big plans in the works. So let's continue on to the next article. And that next article is Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway could invest $33 billion in under 18 months thanks to its flurry of stock purchases and deals. Berkshire recently invested in Occidental Petroleum and HP and struck a deal to acquire Allegheny. Buffett's company could also raise its ownership of its energy unit and Pilot Flying J. I recently learned by way of CGP Gray's Veritasium that the current largest user of fuel that still has lead in it is what amounts to private pilots. Single piston engine pilots, planes, still use leaded fuel. And if you've never looked into this, it's the reason why I and many others believe that sociopathy is such a large thing, being made manifest today, in that generations of people who grew up with leaded fuel, leaded paint, leaded materials, basically still have this impacting them because you cannot get rid of lead from your system. It acts like calcium and bonds to your body, and it causes all kinds of maladies, and we still have it. And even us as people benefiting from the evolution of controls on business to stop lead from being used, the exclusion of fuel from having lead in it, removal of lead from paint, etc., etc., we are still falling victim to it because it's in the atmosphere and it's in us. Even if we were born post the use stoppage of lead. Well, lead's still being used in many, many places, and I think that it is that sociopathy is directly tied to high lead ingestion, or I should say infection, because it isn't necessarily voluntary. With some people it would be, but with many others, I think that lead is the cause of it. And so there is ongoing research, but let's continue on with this, because that's kind of a side comment to this about Warren Buffett and the fact that he's invested in a company with planes. Anyway, doesn't matter. The article is over in Business Insider, and it's written by, I think it's Theron Muhammad. And let's continue. Let's see, where is there something? Buffett also struck a deal to acquire Allegheny for $11.6 billion in under 2 weeks. Wow, very fast moving. James Shanahan, a senior equity analyst at Edward Jones, expects a couple more deals to materialize over the next year. Berkshire Hathaway is likely to spend about $4 billion to raise its ownership in Pilot Flying J to 80% in early 2023. By the way, Berkshire Hathaway Class A shares are trading somewhere in the $530,000 a share rate right now. So pretty spectacular share price. And that's because Buffett doesn't like stock splits. Historically. He may have changed his mind now. But historically, he has not. Berkshire shares have climbed 14% this year, bucking the S&P 500 8% decline over the same period. Wow. Yeah, the Sage of Omaha, still living in his original home. Maybe, I think maybe a couple of years ago he moved out, but I'm not sure. Don't hold me to that. But let's continue on. I'm about halfway through with today's show. The next article is Zoom agrees to historic $85 million payout for graphic Zoom bombing claims. The COVID-19 pandemic brought on a surge of Zoom bombing as hackers and pranksters crashed into virtual meetings with abusive messages and imagery. Now Zoom has agreed to pay an historic payout of $85 million as part of a class action settlement brought by its users, including church groups who said they were left traumatized by the disruptions. Traumatized! The class action lawsuit brought by users, including church groups, states they were bombarded with abusive messages and images. This article is over at The Guardian, written by Maya Yang. I never fell victim to this. I think that's interesting that there were so many that it became a class action. In one incident 2 years ago, St. Paul's Lutheran Church in San Francisco was hosting a Bible study class in which most of the participants were senior citizens. However, shortly into the session, Zoom allowed a known offender to Zoom bomb the class, according to a federal lawsuit that was filed in May 2020. A known offender. According to the lawsuit, participants had their computer screens hijacked and their control buttons disabled while being forced to watch pornographic video footages, including, oh boy, this would be traumatizing. But anyway, yeah. So I think the bigger problem here is both the material that was recorded and broadcast, and that there are so many sociopaths out there that are willing to do stuff like this, that are willing to Zoom bomb. They have nothing else going on in their life but to do this. I mean, for crying out loud, we have a person that jumped out of an airplane for clicks. We're talking about people that demand attention. At least do something, come into my chat and talk about the news with me. Do something important. This is not important, whatever it is. Causing trauma to people that are doing a Bible study, for crying out loud, is not important business. You are doing worthless activities. What is lacking in your life that you feel that this is something that you can do and is positive in your world. And so that is the whole part. Back again to it's the sociopathy. People want to do these really offensive things to other people, and there's no rhyme or reason to it other than giggles. But really, who's laughing? You should be located and charged with what could be trespass. I mean, you're accessing something without authorization. So maybe if there's a law, I know that there is a law for unauthorized access to computer systems. So maybe that, I don't know, but obviously it's people behaving poorly because they have nothing else to do with their lives. So find something else, give them something else to do with their lives. They should have attended the Bible study instead of invading it and throwing horrible porn. I don't want to go into the context of what that porn was, but let's just say they should be charged for that. Anyway, let's continue on with the next article. The Word in Tech is the channel that it was aggregated into, and the bird was complete luck, says Josh Edgoose, best phone picture. So again, just like the last article, I've never read that article. I don't know the context of it precisely, but I have various levels of experience with the technology and the issues bound within. In this particular instance, I've never read this. I have no idea what this is really about. I just thought it was really interesting that it was a phone picture involving the seemingly random statement of the bird was complete luck. Photographer Josh Edgoose has always tried to capture, quote, moments that feel a bit strange, end quote. Until recently, Photography was a hobby, and when lockdown first hit, he was limited to the area surrounding his home in Hounslow, London, for inspiration. We live under a flight path, so planes go by every 10 minutes or so. This beautiful rainbow appeared, and I went out hoping to capture it as one flew over. I knew I had only 2 or 3 shots before the rainbow faded, and the bird was complete luck. So I'm going to click this link. It'll take us over to The Guardian. And Grace Holiday is the author of this article over at The Guardian. So what it is a picture of a building with a plane flying through a rainbow that's going from one edge to the other, and this bird kind of just hanging out, flying like the plane between the building and the rainbow. And it was shot on an iPhone 13. And to that, I say a lot of people worry about, should I get this good camera or should I get that good camera? And really what it comes down to is the best piece of equipment that you can take a picture with is the camera that you've got in your hand, whatever it might be. Because if you plan for a shot and it is something like this, the serendipitous, as the author writes, the London-based photographer on his serendipitous avian encounter when capturing a plane and a fleeting rainbow. So if you're out there just taking pictures, use your phone. You don't need an extra piece of equipment unless you're doing one that, I don't know, is more planned than usual. So, yep, the best camera is the one you have on you. So the article goes into greater detail, but I'm going to continue on so that I can fit everything within an hour. The next article is Elon Musk confirmed leaked texts showing him turning down a philanthropic opportunity with Bill Gates after asking the Microsoft founder if he was shorting Tesla. This is in the Hatch Ideas channel. It says leaked screenshots of text between Elon Musk and Bill Gates are real, according to Musk. The texts show Musk turning down a philanthropic opportunity from Gates over the latter shorting Tesla. I cannot take your philanthropy on climate change seriously, Musk told Gates, per the text. And the rest of that statement is because you're shorting Tesla, which is doing the greatest good for the environment than anything else. That's a paraphrase, that last part. Anyway, it says Elon Musk on Friday said texts that show he turned down a philanthropic opportunity with Bill Gates over the latter's short position are legitimate. So I'm going to click this link. It takes us over to Business Insider. It's written by Kelsey Vlamis. And my take on this is turning down the philanthropy opportunity because Bill Gates is shorting Tesla seems disingenuous to me. And that's mainly because shorting a business and the philanthropy of the richest person in the world are not one and the same. A person can short a business because they feel that it's overrated. You just don't blindly bow to any business mechanism because you think that it's an awesome business. I mean, you can invest on ideology, but again, that doesn't make a millionaire a billionaire. Well, in this particular case, Bill Gates is spending his money, right? He's not taking the businesses that he's owned or owns, I don't know what he owns anymore, and taking their money and doing philanthropic things with it, right? Well, Elon Musk, he just liquidated enough money so that he could buy Twitter. That isn't philanthropy. So what else philanthropic is Elon Musk doing? Right? Richest person in the world. Could be changing the world with his own personal wealth. So I'm curious how much more out there is being done. I'm sure he does some. There are some where he said that he has, but nobody has any idea what was done. But in this case, philanthropy starts with the person, not with the enterprise. So why are the two tied together? Do something good with your wealth, Elon Musk. Stop taking subsidies. Stop taking investment from public sources and reinvest your wealth in your own business. I'm sure the price will go through the freaking roof if that takes place. But anyway, I'm interested in how these texts broke out into the wild, because I really doubt Gates would do it. Somebody else had to. Okay, so let's continue on with the next article. This is in the Mobile channel. Man charged with threatening Merriam-Webster over gender definitions. And so this is why I included fighting words in the title of the tweet. It says, the man, Jeremy David Hansen, 34, threatened in October to shoot and bomb the company's offices because of its definitions of boy and girl, trans woman, and other words. Yeah. Because of something that is not offensive in any way, shape, or form to anybody's view, really. I mean, a reasonable person isn't going to see definitions of boy, girl, trans women, and others changing as they should, as they do, as society changes, so does our living language. You don't get offended by it, right? There's some words that are offensive. There are some words that can draw violence out of a person. And although I don't condone violence, I would not be surprised. But the person wrote, there is no such thing as gender identity. In a comment about the definition of female, the quote, the imbecile who wrote this entry should be hunted down and shot. Mr. Hansen escalated his threats from there, sending messages saying that the company's headquarters should be shot up and bombed, the statement said. He wrote that by changing certain gender-based definitions, the company was taking part in efforts to degrade the English language and deny reality. In October, Merriam-Webster reported the threats to the FBI, which tracked Mr. Hansen through his IP address, and the Bureau's affidavit said. Because of the threats, the company closed its offices in Springfield, Massachusetts, and New York for 5 days. Let's see. His mother told investigators that her son had autism and was fixated on transgender issues. It only goes downhill from there, folks. Everyone has a right to express their opinion, Mr. Bonavolanta said, but repeatedly threatening to kill people, as has been alleged, takes it to a new level. Yep. Just like me, a lot of my comments here are opinion. Some of them are fact. You would have to go and fact check me. That's fine with me. The other day, I had somebody in chat that said that the new variant of coronavirus doesn't impact the lungs, and that is factually not true. It doesn't do as much damage as other variants of the coronavirus. And so when the person was in the chat and I was interacting, I said, I'll have to go and look that up, because I've never heard that it doesn't do anything to the lungs. Well, it's just not true. It does do damage to the lungs. As far as I know, every coronavirus does damage to the lungs. It's just not as aggressive, the newest variant. And so it's all about some opinion, and then you verify the facts that the opinion is based on. So context really matters to me. It is probably the single most important thing, because truth is based on that context. There is not always one truth. The context can change the perception of a truth. Um, you know, I just can't come up with a more pertinent example than what I just said, which is, yes, the newest variant of coronavirus doesn't do as much damage to the lungs. That's the truth. It's not that it doesn't, but it takes understanding that. It takes research. It takes understanding the context of it. So the next article, I'm going to have to move on. The next article is in the Word in Tech, and it's about Anker's pint-sized 100-watt USB-C charger now shipping, but it's already sold out on Amazon. I want this so bad. At CES 2022, Anker announced its addition to its Nano 2 USB-C charger lineup, with this more powerful version sporting 2 USB-C ports capable of outputting up to 100 watts, plus an old school USB-A charging port. And at $80, this thing is a deal. So the article's over at The Verge, written by Richard Lawler, and that's what it looks like. I have a couple of these smaller versions of these, not 100 watts. The only weird thing about them is that they're heavy on the far side. Their center of gravity is different. And so sometimes if you have a house, or you're in a place where the walls vibrate or move, it can sometimes be heavy and pull itself out of the outlet. It's just the nature of the beast of physics. You would have to bend the plug pins a little bit so that it grabs on more to the connector. But for the most part, I love Anker. They are my go-to. So single port charging, 2-port charging, and 3-port charging. If you use all 3 ports, total watt output is 93 watts. I guess there's some lossless stuff or lossy stuff there. With distribution being 45 watts for 1 port, 30 watts for the second USB-C port, and 18 watts for USB-A. It's pretty amazing. So I'll be hunting these down. The next article is EVE Online. Prices are going up. The cost of doing business in EVE Online is going up. CCP Games announced Tuesday. Today. Announced today that in order to support the game's continued growth, the price of both Omega subscriptions and Plex will be going up in May. The adjustment reflects global trends impacting general production costs and accounts for years of inflation, amending the 1-month USD subscription rate for the first time since 2004. These adjustments will have an impact on other non-US currencies. So currently 1 month of Omega subscription, which offers access to EVE's full lineup of ships, more gameplay features, and unlimited skill training with double training speed, sells for $15, 3 months for $38.85, 6 months for $71.71, and 12 months for $131.40. Starting May 17th, pricing will change to, 1 month is $20, 2 months is $36, 3 months is $48, 6 months is $87, and 12 months will be $150. Oh, and I guess there's another tier called for 24 months that's $270. My aggregator grabbed way too much of this. Weird. At any rate, and Plex prices will go up too. But if you want to know more about it, go over to pcgamer.com, and the article's written by Andy Chalk. And again, the title is EVE Online Prices Are Going Up. It says here, CCP says the price hikes are necessary to ensure continued development of EVE, but players aren't convinced or happy. The next article is in Tabletop Nights. Steampunk Western CRPG Age of Grit launches for PC on May 3rd. So first off, I love steampunk. Secondly, I love Westerns and a steampunk Western. Oh, and I love RPGs. I'm not sure about the CRPG type here, but the context here matters as well. But let's click the link. It says it's inspired by Firefly, Win, and Fallout 2, which I don't know. So this article is over at rpgsite.net. It's written by Adam Vitale. It has a video and some artwork here, but I like I said, I don't play the videos. I encourage you to go over to rpgsite.net and watch the video there. Obviously, it's over at YouTube as well. But it says IQ Soup has announced that Steampunk Western RPG Age of Grit will exit early access and launch for PC on May 3rd. Age of Grit began life as a Kickstarter campaign back in 2014, which raised more than $15,000 for the project. The game released in early access 2019 with stated inspirations from Firefly and Fallout 2. And there's the trailer. Obviously, I want you to go over, like I said, to rpgsite.net and click that link. You can get there by way of ohmTown. But it says, step into the dusty boots of Jebediah Rockwell, the grizzled captain of a beat-up steam-powered airship. You and your ship's crew will adventure across a vast Wild West world in a story-rich RPG. Upgrade your airship with sharpshooting rifles, menacing Gatling guns, devastating cannons, and countless other loot items. Build your fortune with each job you do, and with each outlaw you blast out of the sky. They have a typo in their description. Try your hand at bounty hunting, dueling outlaws, smuggling contraband, about anything to pay the bills and keep your ship in the sky. Well, I am going to have to check this out. It doesn't look like a first person, but I'll go and check it out after the stream. The next article is over in the Law Nerd channel about Alex Jones. I'm sure some people are kind of tired of hearing about Alex Jones, but it says Alex Jones's bankruptcy lawyer indignant that Sandy Hook plaintiffs aren't grateful he spared them their day in court. This article, just for the record, I love the way that AboveTheLaw.com writes its articles because it has a little bit of legal snark in there, and I just love it. So go over to Above the Law and read this article written by Liz Dye. And it says here, and if facts and the law are against you, pound the table. So let's see here. This is a quote from Alex Jones's lawyer, Norman Pattis. Quote, returning to the bankruptcy courts to compel the plaintiffs to estimate the value of their claims in open court by discernible evidentiary standards. Alex Jones's lawyer, Norman Pattis, told the Wall Street Journal on Wednesday, quote, the plaintiffs have turned this litigation into a macabre morality play and have refused to negotiate in good faith. We hope they will show respect to the federal courts. End quote. Yeah. All right there, bub. There's so much gaslighting in the world today. I'm surprised that it doesn't just spontaneously combust under the pressure of its own BS. I am always shocked. Yesterday I was watching a court case. I won't go into the details of it, but they were asked if they said something. They said no. They were handed the evidence that said, yes, they did say something. And then they go, oh, that. Oh, right. Yeah. I believe that. Well, no. It's not about your belief. It's about what you said. It's about what you do. This is the same gaslighting crap that drives me nuts to the point where one of the reasons why I started up ohmTown Daily News is because I wanted to talk about the news, and I wanted to talk about it in a factual way with some context from real world experience and talk with people about it. And I'm 113 episodes into it. So I would really love it if anybody who hears this would come to my channel on Twitch, and let me know. Say hi. Add your distinctive perspective and context to this discussion. And I know that the people that are going to come to this stream and listen to this podcast are those that are actually investigating the reality of living life as a human being instead of just the echo chamber of their own lack of intellectual curiosity. That's what I am looking for. That's why I started up ohmTown to begin with, is to expand my experience and understanding of the world around me. But the very people that need to do this are consciously not doing it. They are willfully remaining ignorant of other people's existence because they are sociopaths. So come on over. I mean, I actually joke around and I have a good time when I'm trying to do the news, but I'm really there when I'm in my channel. It has largely been just one person. In the podcast, nobody has been making any comments over there either. So I really, please let me know that you are interested in this stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't joke around when it's just me. I guess I don't. It's because I don't script anything. I mean, there are YouTube channels where a person has scripted everything that they're saying and they're injecting their own jokes and stuff like that in the writing, and so they don't deviate from it. There's no ad lib, there's no vamping, there's no nothing. It's basically all scripted, and I'm just not like that. I like to live on the fly with the people that are around me. I just happen to be recording this because I think that it's interesting. It's fun. Anyway, so while this person's gaslighting, there are people that are really suffering, and Alex Jones added to that. So let's see what comes of it. But I hope the Sandy Hook people get everything they deserve for the crap that they had to go through based on willful ignorance. The next article is over in the Continuity Report. Sean Diddy Combs to host the 2022 Billboard Music Awards. Let's see. Does it say BBMAs? Interesting. So the Billboard Music Awards will be held at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas on May 15th and will be broadcast at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on NBC, in addition to streaming live on Peacock. Let's see. We'll click the link. Takes us over to Variety, an article written by Sasha Urban and William Chapman. And let's see here. This will be unlike any award show. I'm bringing the love and the setting, the frequency at an all-time high, said Combs. The Billboard Music Awards truly represent the artists and where music is today. So I'm excited to curate the biggest live performances and surprises the world has to tune in to see. Well, good luck. I'll probably end up watching it. I mean, I love all kinds of music. Everything from, I can't even say, from classical to death metal, in between rap and pop and EDM, and there's so many different types. Let's see. Yeah, I can't even go into it. I mean, there's just so many types nowadays, so many genres. And so the last article is in the Word in Tech, and it's about a watch. In the Word in Tech, the article is titled, "Yep, it's going to be called the Pixel Watch, not the Pickle Watch, the Pixel Watch. I'm in a pickle here. After years of speculation, we finally know that Google's first in-house smartwatch will be called, surprisingly to no one, a new trademark was filed with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and it'll be called the Pixel Watch." So, Did we really think it would be called something else? Says Victoria Song from The Verge. No. Okay, so now I'm going to have an Apple Watch on one wrist and a Pixel Watch on the other wrist, and I'll have an Android phone on one hand and an Apple phone on the other hand. And maybe in between, I'll conjure something up like more time. Anyway, I think it's funny because it's a time travel joke and a watch joke and competing. Anyway. So after years of speculation, we're going to have another smartwatch competitor. And I think it's fine. Anything that pushes the limit and gives greater ability to benefit from the evolution of technology to the consumer, I'm all for it. It's an odd time to launch a new product, considering chip shortages, manufacturing issues, cost of production going up, etc., inflation, and so on. But if you're on a timeline, delay is more expensive than not doing anything at all. You're not going to save any money by having everything done and then not being able to deliver. Otherwise, you're going to have to start firing people. Anyway, it says there are plenty of reasons why 2022 is the year that the stars have finally aligned for the Pixel Watch, but despite false starts and rumors that never panned out, Google has been laying the groundwork for Android smartwatches for years. Not only was it the first to the wearable game in 2014 with Android Wear, which has since been rebranded as Wear OS, in 2019 it was revealed that the Pixel Watch nearly debuted years ago. The only reason it didn't was those early attempts didn't look like what belonged in the Pixel family, and to be fair, it was the right call, as the LG Watch Style and LG Watch Sport are god-awful, according to the author. Well, there you have it. That's today's news. But like always, I bring you back to the beginning of ohmtown.com, and I click on the link. And I feel like this might be inviting somebody to flood ohmtown.com so that when I hit that link, I get a dead page or something. At any rate, here you have it. More and more articles. What's interesting about this is my jewel crafting feed, which highlights makers of jewelry, tends to always be the one that is being aggregated at the same time that my stream ends. So go and check them out. You'll love those too if you're into making jewelry or even seeing what artists do as their product, Murano magic beads, vintage baby bangle necklace, etc., etc. There's article after article. And right now we're over 250,000 articles over at ohmtown.com. Plenty of discussion. And I hope it draws you back to ohmtown here on Twitch. So stop by ohmtown.com. You can pick up the podcast later. You can go over to youtube.com/ohmtown for the stream afterward. It'll be displayed there sometime today. It depends on if I can get all of my other work done. But more importantly, I want you to come over to Twitch. So come to twitch.tv/ohmtown and let me know you're here. And I want to thank you again. So thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Bye-bye.